Right, seeing as the lake's closed for a week, I thought I'd do a bedroom tutorial on how I go about tying Leadcore leaders to make the helicopter rig. I'm going to run through every component from start to finish, so you'll see the finished article. And this is a rig I use quite a bit. Obviously not down the pond I'm fishing at the moment because there's a Leadcore ban. So I think the reason why Leadcore's got a bad reputation is people use too much of it. I've seen people casting out Leadcore leaders 13 foot, 14 foot, and to be honest, you don't really need that much. The maximum length of Leadcore leader I ever use is 2 foot. And that's ample, really. All you want to do is pin your main line down from your lead back to the main line, just to cover up that little bit of area there. So yeah, obviously it's got a bad rep. A lot of waters ban it, which is understandable. Fish get wrapped up and they're dead fish. So I'm just going to run through this tutorial with you anyway. So I always use ESP leader, Leadcore. I've used it, well, forever really. I've not really changed it. I've no reason to change the brand that I use. I think it's really good. It splices really well. It sinks like a brick, and it does form well to contours as well. You get it in 3 different colours. I mean, I've got the original camo, the weed green, and I think they do a silky one as well, but I've never bothered with that. So yeah, these are the 2 that I use, and what we'll do, we'll just run through, we'll do the Leadcore leader first, and then we run on to the actual rig itself after we've done that. Now, I like to be consistent in my fishing. I'm a little bit OCD. I like everything to be the same length when I'm casting out, therefore it all feels the same. If I've got a Leadcore leader that's, say, 17 inches and one that's 18 inches, it does make a difference. I know it's an inch, but it does make a difference. So generally what I would use is a rig board. For those of you that haven't seen a rig board, you can make them out of a piece of wood, you can make them out of anything really. This is my rig board. It is in fact a curtain rail, as you can see, and the curtain rails come with these mounting brackets, which obviously you either screw up into the wall or onto the wall, and then this cam, you put it, locks it in position. And the beauty of these is, it means my rig board is adjustable. Yeah, so I can go from whatever size I want, down from 1 inch up to, as I say, 2 foot maximum length I ever use. Now, if you do want to use a bigger leader, if you want to go over the 2 foot, all you need to do is double it round. And what we'll do, we'll start splicing first, and then you'll understand what I mean by doubling it around. So that's my rig board. Yeah, it works really well to get your leaders consistent and the same length every time. Yeah, that's it. Cheap as chips. I think I pulled this out of a skip actually. It was being chucked away, and I thought, yeah, I could use that. I think you could probably get them like a kit from, I don't know, Dunelm, eBay, 20 quid, and you've got yourself an adjustable rig board. As I say, it doesn't have to be adjustable. You can use a piece of wood. Now these pins, they're 3mm, and the reason they're 3mm is because the rings I use on my quick change, what are they called? They're not called quick change. spinner swivels, so these little fellas here, they fit lovely onto the 3mm pin like that. Okay, so yeah, 3mm. I mean, these are 2 little brass pins that I found in our shed, and all I've done is I've drilled this T-bar section, which is actually what locks it in place. I've literally drilled a 3mm hole into there, poked my little brass rod in there, and just put a little bit of super glue into it, which, you know, holds it into position. Yeah, they're great. So for those you want adjustable, have a look at this method. And there we go, and then that looks back in place. So let's start off. So the first thing we need to do is we need to splice some Leadcore. So I'm gonna use the camo one because I'm running out, and I've done a load of green ones, really green ones up already. So I'm gonna start with the camo. So the first thing to do is I always start at the line end. So I'll make the small loop first. So on the back of my rig board, I've got 3 little marks, as you can see. Now those marks represent the length of my splice on my splicing needle. So this is the splicing needle. As you can see, it's really fine. And there we go. So it's a gate latch, fine point. The ones I use are the thinking anglers. You get a pack of 3 for, I think, £3.50 or something like that. So yeah, they don't, you know, they don't last forever, splicing needles. The hook, which is the most important part, needs to be sharp. Once it loses its sharpness, it won't be as effective, and you'll struggle to pull the outer sheath of the Leadcore back through the centre. If you've got a blunt needle on the end, it will become apparent when we start doing it. So first things first is I'm going to make the loop at the end. So I go to my mark here. So I've got 3 marks, as I said. That's the length of my splice. That's the length I'm going to pull through, back through the splice, and this is the length of my loop. So first things first, we're going to put the Leadcore onto the end, and I'm going to pinch it there. Once I've done that, we need to break the inner core, the lead itself. So I do this, I wangle it around my fingers like so a few times, backwards and forwards, as you can see, and we're just breaking that core inside. And you'll know when it's broke because it will do that, you see. So now I know that Leadcore is broke where I want it to be broken. Yeah. Next thing is at the bottom, hold the Leadcore and then just pull down from the top a little bit, and you'll get a little bit of Leadcore stick out like so. And then you're going to just pull that piece of Leadcore out, and that goes in the bin. Okay, so now we've done that, that is our exposed part to the length that I want it. Then you're going to take your splicing needle and you're going to hook it into the core itself. So you're going to literally pull it back and then once it's in, you're just going to start threading it up. So if I move over to the small camera, you can see that a bit better. So there's my Leadcore. to take the splicing needle and hook it in like so. Yeah, once it's in, then you can start threading it up. Okay, so there we go. You see it's now working its way up inside of the Leadcore. And on these on these splicing needles, there's a little ledge. Remember the 3 marks on the back of my rig board? Yeah. So we're going to move it, slide it up, so we hit that edge and then stop. Yeah. Once you've got that far, now we need to push the needle through. Like so. Yeah. So now the needle's through all the way till the gate of the gate latch is exposed there. Yeah. And what we're going to do, just going to pull that little gate latch back open like that. Okay. Now we need to get the end of it, and this is where your sharp needle comes into play. If it's not sharp, it doesn't pinch. You're going to put that on there, like so. Yeah. The less you have on, let's call that the tag end, the easier it is to pull the splice through. So try and get it as close to the end as possible. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to start sliding it down. You see the gate is closed. And now the trick is just to take your time, be gentle with it. Don't force it because you'll break your needle. And you're going to work that down. Okay, you get the idea. I'm going to do this back over here now. Okay, so there we go. So before you pull the needle out, what you want to do is put a pulling tool in there or something so you don't pull the splice all the way through. Yeah, because if you do that, you're in all sorts of bother. So put a tool onto there. Yeah. Oops. Filming is hard work doing rigs. Okay. Right, you see that? It's on now, and then I'm going to start pulling it through. Okay, just going to do this out of that camera. Okay. Just tease it down until you pull it out like so. Okay, then you've got that. Now I like to make sure that it's nice and tight. So just pull it up, and that is perfect. Now pull the splice back down over itself, and that bit will disappear inside if you've measured it correctly. It all depends on how much of a splice you're going to do. See, I say these thinking angling ones, they've got a little stop on them. So obviously it varies needle to needle. Okay, so now we have that going on. Yeah, beautifully spliced, no exposed bits coming through, and a lovely little loop on the end. Okay, now this is where the rig ball comes into play. Right, so take our rig board. Now I'm going to do this at 18 inches, these like this one. So these are inch increments. On the back of it I've got 5, 10, 15, 20, so I know where I'm going to be. So that's 18 now. Okay. And what we're going to do is take the end and put it onto your rig board, like so. Loop it round, and then what you want to do is go 4 inches down from the top. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There's me 4 inches. I'm going to cut that off there. Okay. Perfect. So that's 4 inches down from where our loop's going to be. Now we need to obviously break the Leadcore again. So bearing in mind we've got the length of our splicing needle. Mine's set up. I know where to do mine. I'm going to come 2 inches down. As I say, your splicing needles might be different, but say if you go with a thinking angler's one, then come 2 inches down. So I'm keeping that under tension. Yeah, and I'm going to pinch 2 inches down from where my loop is. Yeah, and again we need to break that Leadcore. Wind it around a few times. Don't go in the continuous motion, because all you're going to do is wrap up your outer splice of your Leadcore, and you don't want to do that. So a couple times backwards and forwards until you break it, and again you know when it's broken because it does that. Yeah, and again pinch, hold the bottom, and then just gently pull out a couple of mil, 10 mil or so to expose the Leadcore, and then grab the top and then slide that piece out. Okay, there it is, and again in the bin. And as you can see, that's where we're broke. So again, we're going to take our splicing needle, same again, back on itself, and then push through the centre. Now if you're doing it for the first time, it's really tricky. The more you do it, the better you become, like anything. Okay, sliding that down till it hits the stop, which it has done, and then we're going to poke the needle through. Yep, like so. And again, we're going to loop that around, trapping it on the sharp hook, and then the gate's going to close down over the top of that. And then again, we're going to thread it back through, teasing it up gently. Don't rush, you'll break your needle. See, I'm using my nail. I'm just trying to tease it back through. again, just put that in there just in case. And there we go. Okay, now we're going to try and pull that through a bit. There we go. So we end up with that going on. Let's move it onto the big camera so you can see. There we go. So that's how it looks now. So next job is to loop it round onto our 18-inch mark. Now we want to pull the tag end that way, and we want to pull the splice that way, and what will happen is it will tighten down. So as I'm doing it, you'll see what I mean. Teasing your splice up like so. Yeah, see, that's nice and tight now, taking all the slack out of it. Okay, and then the next job is to cut that off with scissors. That bit in the bin, and then pull that off there. Bring your splice back down over it. If you've got a little bit poking through, don't worry, it will sort itself out. And there we go. There's our Leadcore leader, exactly the size we want it. And as I say, you can repeat this process over and over and over, and all your leaders will be exactly the same size. Yeah, it's really good. So, and again, so what I was saying, if you wanted to make bigger than 2 foot, which, you know, some people do, some people like to use a metre. So what I would do in that instance would be, let's just say, what we're going to do is we're going to splice it round now, and then we do our splicing down this end. Yeah, so so in theory you're doubling it up. Yeah, but instead of working from this end, you'll be working from the same end you started from. So really, I could have an 4 foot leader, or again wrap it around. Yeah, so then I'm at 6 foot, wrap it back round, then I'm at 8 foot, you know. It's very versatile, this rig board. Yeah, have a look. B&Q, you know, Dunelm, anywhere like that, eBay, or even go down a local tip. You know, you might find one in a local tip. They're really good. So anyway, that's our Leadcore leader made. Perfect. Some people put super glue on them. I don't bother. You know, I don't think it needs super glue. I've never put super glue on them. The more it constricts, the tighter it gets. So there's no need for super glue. Right, so that's that part done. So next job will be the actual hook link. So I like to use a stiff material. There's loads on the market. Calder, what's it called? Can't remember now. Don't know. Anyway, there's loads on the market. I prefer, again, the thinking anglers, recoil, because it's cheap. It's cheaper than Calder, that's for sure. You get more of it, and it's also clear as well, which I like. Don't like the Calder one, it's got a yellow tinge to it. I like this because it's clear. So let's start with the hook link. So those of you who know these little jobs, the crimps, Calder have brought this out from Witchwood, I think, originally had them, and I was using them when Witchwood were, you know, as part of their tackle. And yeah, I think Calder brought them out, and yeah, so you can still get them, which is a bonus. So first things first, we need to slide one of the crimps onto the material itself. Okay. Now these crimps I use are the small ones, and the recoil that I'm using is £30. It's 0.55 millimeter diameter, exactly the same as the Calder equivalent. So diameter is, you know, has to be the same for the crimp to work. Go anything, you know, I mean, I think you'll struggle to get anything bigger than that. Anything smaller, the crimps are going to be ineffective. So yes, don't bother, get the 0.55. So there we go, there's a crimp on one side. Next job is we're going to put our spinner swivel on, which is this little thing in, where are you, camera? There you go, spinner swivel, size 11, and we're going to slide that. Where's the end of that gone? We're going to put that down the line, so the ring onto the line, and you're going to poke it back through the other side of the crimp. Right, that's just struggling to go through there for some reason, so I'm just going to put a little bit of an angle cut on that, like that. We'll try that again. Okay, let's try that again. That's gone flying through there now, perfect. Okay, and then we're going to pull that up tight. Like so, leaving a tag end on the end, like that. Okay, now the next job is to use the crimper tool, which is this. So on here you've got two sizes, small and large, and I think they're even bringing a newer version out which has got a different size on as well, but at the moment it's the small and the large. So when you're using this tool, it's absolutely key that you get this crimp lined up in the two slots on this tool. If it isn't lined up correctly, you'll crimp it and you'll end up flattening the crimp, and it will just explode. It's no good. You've got to get it bang in the middle, So it's an even crimp all the way around. I struggle to see it with my eyes because my eyes are pretty sharp. So what I use is a jeweler's loop, so I can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to do that and get it lined up, and then I'll show you under the bigger camera. Okay. Perfect. So I'll show you under this camera so you can see what I mean. It has to be perfectly in the two little slots on the tool. If it's not, it won't crimp right. Yeah. Hence why I use the jeweler's loop, so I can see what I'm doing. So once you're there, keep firm pressure on it, don't squeeze it yet. Then take the end and put it tight. Yeah, so you're pulling that knot down, or loop down, and then crimp. Yeah. And that's it. I'm just going to check that again with my jeweler's loop to make sure it's right. Yeah, and that's a perfect crimp. So I'll just put you onto the bigger camera so you can see it. There you go. Even crimp, not flat. If you're doing it goes flat, cut it and do it again, because it will not last. You'll get a take and it will just explode, and you'll lose a fish and you'll kick yourself. So it needs to look like that. Yeah, perfectly crimped, even on both sides. And the next job is obviously to remove the tag end. So slide your scissors up. Oops. And remove that tag end, like that. Okay, so that's that end done. So the next job is to make it the length that we want. So I'm going to make it 5 inches, this one. So I'm moving my scale down to 5. And then lock it off. Here's my 5 inches. So again, I'm going to put this ring through the end here. Yep. And then I'm just going to pull a bit of this, so I'm hooking it round this side. I'm just going to pull a bit off there and cut it like so. So I've got a bit to play with. Okay. So that's that bit. Now you can put the anti-tangle sleeve on there if you want to. Makes it a bit easier, or you can put it on afterwards. I normally put them on afterwards, and we'll do that. We'll do it my way anyway. So again, take your crimp, thread it down one side, and thread it through the other side. Okay, brill. Okay, and then what we're going to do, same again like we did with the Leadcore, put your loop on and pull it tight. So you might use the pliers on this part just to help you put it down. There we go. See, now I've got that under tension. I'm going to slide the crimp back up to the pin, like so. Okay, once you're there, you can then lift off your end, lift off that end, and then it's back into the crimping tool. So, jeweler's loop for me. People with good eyes, you know, probably won't need it. And again, making sure you're in the grooves of the crimping tool. Okay, just go into the camera again so you can see. Yeah, so it's in now as it should be. Yeah, so the crimp is flush with the top of the tool. Yeah, and it's in its 2 slots, and then literally give it a squeeze. You know when you've done it wrong, and because it sort of cracks as you're doing it. When you do it right, it's a little squeeze. If you do it wrong, it's a big squeeze and it just goes all wrong, and yeah, you've got to cut it off and do it again. So I'm just going to inspect that. I'll do it through here actually, it's probably easier. Yeah, see, that looks lush, yeah. Perfectly crimped, excellent. So our job to do now is cut that tag end off. Which we'll do here. And that's that tag end off. So there we go. So all of our links are going to be exactly the same length. So if I want to do them 7 inches, 10 inches, whatever, they're all going to be identical lengths. Yeah, a bit OCD, but that's me. Okay, so once you got that far, next job is we need to steam some straightness into it because it's got memory, this stuff. So again, pulling tool on one end and another pulling tool on the other end, like that. And I'm just going to use the kettle, put some steam down through it. Right, kettle's up to temperature, grill. And we're just going to steam some straightness into it. Giving it a tug as you're doing it. Keep it under tension. Okay, we'll just turn that noise off. There we go, there's our hook link. Up and straight, steam straight. Now, it seems a bit of palaver, but really that will last many sessions. That, you know, as long as you don't lose it, it'll get snagged up. So it's £30, so it takes a bit of abuse. So yeah, they'll last a long time. and if your hook gets knackered, you literally change your hook. So we're going to the next part now, the hook. So I've just got, I'm going to use a Y-gape on this one. Obviously I like the wide gape of it, and the venue I'm going to be fishing next week, there's crayfish in now, so I'm going to be fishing plastic baits, fairly tight to the bottom, while they'll be popped up, because they're floating plastic baits. They'll be popped up by that much, so the hook and the swivel, so not a lot at all. So next job is, let's get the hook dressed up. So we're going to use a micro ring swivel, which is one of these tiny little things, and a hook bead, which is one of these. So I'm going to do it on the little camera, on the big camera, whatever camera it is. So hook, so ring swivel onto the hook like that, and then your hook bead, which are these things here. Now I always put mine with the taper on first. So let's just pull that ring swivel out of the way, down the bottom. Okay. And you're gonna poke your hook through the centre. Yep. And put it onto your hook, and it will snap off. Once you're there, just tease it around with your fingers. Okay. Yep. So that's your ring swivel and your hook stop on your hook. So next job is a little piece of silicone tubing. So this is the medium silicone tubing, and we're going to thread that over the hook. Until it's on the hook, like so. Okay. And you can take your spinner swivel, and you're going to put that through the eye of the hook. Now, put it on that way, yeah. So it's like so. So that is like that, yep. And then you're going to pull your your shrink tube back down, and just make sure it covers the barrel of the swivel, and it also needs to cover up all the eye and everything to stop the hook coming off. So I'm just going to do that here. And it looks like that. Yeah. Now I'm going to steam that down again with the kettle. Now I like to follow the bend of the hook as well when I'm steaming this. So there we go. Put that there, and you can see that. Yep. So you've covered obviously this part so that it's over the eye of the hook and it's on the barrel of the swivel as well. Okay, so that really is the hook link done. How easy is that? Who needs to tie knots? Okay, so hook link's done, leader's done. It's time to actually construct the rig itself. So, because I'm using the helicopter, we need obviously a stop bead to stop the rig flying up on impact. So we need a stop bead on here. Now I like to use the little 4mm rubber ones. These ones here, and they've got like a taper on them as well. So they're the beads I like to use, but obviously they're still too loose on the lead core. So what we need to do is get a piece of, again, shrink tubing onto the lead core, which then makes this bead a bit tighter, so it don't fly off. So we're just going to pull that bead off of there, take a bit of shrink tube, and again I think this is the small shrink tube I've got here, and we're gonna thread this down the lead core. Okay, so it doesn't really matter where you do it, where you steam it down, because it will slide. So again, let's just make a bit more steamy noise. And I'm just going to steam that bit of shrink tube down. Onto my lead core. Yeah, so there we go. That's what that looks like now. Then we're going to take our little rubber bead, which is this thing here. As you can see, you've got a big hole one side and a small hole the other side. Now you want the big hole facing up the line. So I'm going from the top of my lead core leader, so I want to go through the big hole. So again, I'm going to use a gate latch needle this time, not the splicing needle, because as you see, oh, not now. iPhone storage is full. Oh well. So anyway, my iPhone's full, so we can't show you that. But yeah, so your gate latch and your splicing needle, you know, they're all identical, but your gate latch is obviously much tougher, can deal with a lot more abuse. So again, so we're going to go through the big hole, which is there, down through the big hole, and I'm going to hook my gate latch over the end of my leader, and I'm going to pull that down onto my leader like that. Then I'm going to thread the bead down onto the piece of shrink tube. I'm going to put a little bit of slider on it just to help it on. And with this being rubber, obviously it's going to fly off the end of this, you know, so we want it safe. And again, so you can see that now I've got my shrink tube and a bead. Now, to say, this is adjustable, yeah, so I'm moving that up and down, but it's just tight enough just to stop the hook link flying back up the line. Okay, so next job will be to use a quick change swivel. Now these are slightly different from the hook swivels. There's a little, you know, that it's closed really, just to stop your hook link coming off. Not that it will come off, because by the time we put the anti-tangle sleeve down over the top of it, it ain't never coming off. So we're going to thread the quick change swivel down onto the Leadcore leader, like that. Next job is a helicopter buffer bead, which is one of them things. And again, my gate latch needle, I'm going to come in from the opposite side because we're coming up this way now. So I'm going through, obviously, the blunt end that way. And then put your gate latch on, shut your gate. Yeah, and then pull that up over it. There we go. Right, so there's those components onto the rig. Now you can loop your lead on if you wanted to through this, you know, through this end. But I like to travel with my rods made up, so I like to take my leads off. So again, I'll just use a quick link, one of these, so I can whip my lead off. So I've not got it smashing around all on my rods, my expensive rods. So we're just going to put this on there. Okay. So that's on there like that. Yep. Next job is to get yourself a lead, which I haven't got because I'm not organised. I'm just going to cut one out of here. Let's just take one of these. Okay. So here we go. So lead. I'm going to put that onto the quick link. Easier said than done. Okay, there's the lead onto the quick link, and that's it. So all we're going to do now is slide the buffer bead down over the quick link. Like that. That's it. I like to leave it so it's got a bit of motion on the end. Yeah, because if that sits funny, hits a rock or whatever, goes down a bit of gravel, you've got that bit of flexibility then for the rig to be presented really nicely. So there we go, that's the rig body pretty much done. Last bit is to get the hook link onto the rig body. Now, remember I said about the anti-tangle sleeves, so we could have put this on before we done the crimp either end. We could have slipped that on, but again, gate latch needle. I'm going to obviously come in from this end, and we want the taper going down the rig, so we're going to go in this direction. So I always put a little bit of spit down the end of here just to help it slide. And and we're going to run our gateless needle all the way down. Like so. Yeah, so it's on the needle, and then we take the rig, close your needle, and you're going to slide it down. Now it's a bit tight, which you know sometimes it pays to get it on beforehand, but they do go on. There we go. So there's your anti-tangle onto your hook link, and then it's just a matter of clipping it on. And then slide your anti-tangle back down over there, so it looks lovely like that. And that is your helicopter rig done and dusted. Any questions, give us a shout. If I've done something you know that you think could be improved on, again, please like, comment, subscribe. Yeah, I'm always open to suggestions, questions. If you do something differently, then please, yeah, comment and we'll go from there. But yeah, that's the way I tie my helicopter rigs with Leadcore. Yes, I say it's a brilliant rig. Fishes really well. So again, your bait's going to be presented like that. And again, it's self-setting. You critically balance your baits. This is going to come lovely and rest beautifully on the lake bed, like so. And again, fish get away with it. It's come along, sucks it up. You know, you haven't got the, if it was a braid, it's all going to go down in a big pile and just be a mess. With this, it's going to push itself back away again, and fish, you know, ready to hopefully get one that comes along and doesn't get away with it. So there we go. Leadcore helicopter rig.